I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. It's been a week since I found out my wife cheated on me during what was supposed to be our anniversary trip, and I'm still trying to make sense of it all. I should have seen the signs, but honestly, I was blind. I was so wrapped up in the idea of us being happy, of celebrating a decade together, that I missed the warning signs, the little things that I now see as red flags. Now I just feel this terrible mix of anger, betrayal, and confusion, and I don't know what to do with it. We started planning that trip months ago. We were supposed to get away, just us, no work, no stress. The hotel was fancy, floor-to-ceiling windows, a balcony overlooking the city, a bed so big I could sleep diagonally and still have room to spare. I remember the smell of fresh linen and the faint scent of her perfume as we unpacked. It was the perfect getaway, or at least that's what I told myself. We'd been through a lot, but I thought we were solid. I thought I knew her. But that's the thing, you think you know someone and then they turn around and surprise you in the worst way possible. It started with small things, missed calls, late nights, excuses about work. Nothing unusual, or so I thought. She'd always be quick to say she was busy or tired. I didn't push because I trusted her, or maybe I just didn't want to face the truth. Then there was the night before we left. She stayed up late, her phone constantly buzzing. I caught a glimpse once, saw a message from some guy. I brushed it off. It was probably just a friend, I told myself. I was dumb, too comfortable, too trusting. The trip itself seemed perfect at first. We had drinks, laughed, took pictures by the pool. But I kept feeling that gnawing suspicion in my gut, the kind you ignore because you want to believe the best. The first red flag hit me when I saw her texting someone late at night, hiding her phone under the pillow. She scolded me once for sneaking a glance at her messages, but I remembered how her eyes flicked away, quick and nervous. That was strange. Why hide it? Why get defensive? I shrugged it off, trying to focus on the good times. But deep down, I knew something was off. Then came the moment that shattered everything. We were in the hotel room, just about to head out for dinner, when I decided to check the receipts from the minibar. Something told me to look closer. I found a bunch of hotel receipts tucked in her bag, nothing out of the ordinary at first glance, but then I noticed a pattern. Several of them were for late-night room service, all with different names. My stomach clenched, my mind raced. Who was she meeting? Why lie? I couldn't stop thinking about those receipts. That's when I found the messages. I'd been snooping, but I couldn't help it. I needed answers. I unlocked her phone when she was in the bathroom just to see if I could find anything, and I did. There were texts, secret messages. Flirty, intimate, full of inside jokes I'd never heard. She called him babe, sent him pictures I never saw her show me. My pulse hammered in my ears as I read the words. It all fit, the late nights, the hiding, the receipts. She'd been lying about everything. Right. There in her own messages, she'd been playing me for a fool. It was a gut punch. My skin went cold and I felt that old, familiar roll of rage bubbling up. I don't remember how long I sat there staring at her phone, trembling. When she came back from dinner, I was already holding her phone, just staring at the screen. She froze. Her face went pale. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice trembling. I just looked at her and said, "Tell me the truth. Now." Her eyes darted away, but I saw the guilty flicker. I saw the lie crumbling. That's when I knew I had to plan my next move very carefully. If I had to do something about this, I couldn't do it impulsively. Not yet. I needed to be strategic. I needed to know everything, her habits, her routines, her secrets. I wanted her to see that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I had to make her realize she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. And from that moment on, I knew I'd be taking control of the situation. I just didn't yet know how deep the rabbit hole went. But one thing was clear, I was done trusting blindly. Whatever came next, I was ready for it. I couldn't sleep that night. The room was silent except for my pounding heartbeat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, pale, guilty, caught. Those secret messages burned in my mind. They felt like a fist squeezing my chest. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I was so blind to the betrayal right under my nose. The worst part was knowing she'd lied about everything, all those little excuses, all the "it's nothing" moments. She had been sneaking around, hiding her phone, sneaking out of the room late at night. And I let her because I trusted her. But I was done trusting her now. I needed to get ahead of her, figure out how deep this thing went. My instincts told me to keep calm, be patient. I had to be smarter than her, so I decided to look into her phone more thoroughly. I knew I had to find some concrete proof, something undeniable. I already had the messages, but I wanted more. I needed every detail, every breadcrumb leading to who she really was. The next morning I woke up early, the kind of early where the light filters softly through the curtains and everything feels heavier than usual. I took her phone silently before she even stirred. My fingers trembled a little as I unlocked it. I'd never done this before, but I had to know the full story. I scrolled through her messages, her emails, anything that might shed light. What I found was more than I expected. Her conversation with that guy wasn't just flirtatious, it was intimate. They had shared plans, little inside jokes, and even talked about meeting up again after our trip. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face blank. No way I'd let her see how much her betrayal hurt. Instead, I kept scrolling, searching for clues about the extent of their relationship. That's when I discovered something else. Hidden in her gallery were pictures, screenshots of their messages, some selfies, and a few private moments she'd taken without me knowing. I felt a rage boiling up inside me. My fists clenched so tightly I thought my nails might cut into my palms. I closed her phone slowly, then sat back. On the bed, trying to breathe through the storm inside me, I knew I had enough now, evidence, proof that she'd been lying from the start. I felt a strange calm settle over me, mixed with a slow-burning fury. I had to confront her, but not yet. I needed to plan my next move carefully. I wanted her to see I knew everything. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal. While she was in the bathroom, I took a moment to think. I looked around the room at the luxurious sheets, the city skyline beyond the window. This was supposed to be our special trip. Instead, it had turned into a trap I'd set for her. She thought she was fooling me, hiding her secrets behind that innocent smile. But I knew better now. When she came back, I looked her straight in the eyes. "I saw the messages," I said quietly but firmly. Her face went pale again. She stammered, trying to deny it, but it was too late. I pulled out her phone and showed her what I'd found. Her hands shook as she tried to snatch it away, but I held firm. "You lied to me," I said, voice tight. "All those excuses, were you planning this? Did it just happen, or have you been sneaking around for months?" She looked down, silent, then whispered, "It was just a mistake. It didn't mean anything." That's when I felt the first real surge of anger, mistakes. That's all she called it. I could see the guilt in her eyes, but I was beyond caring about her excuses. I was more interested in what I was going to do next. Because I knew I couldn't let her get away with this, not without consequences. I sat there staring at her, feeling a strange clarity. My mind was racing. I had to act, but I also had to be smart. I knew I wasn't just going to walk away or yell. I needed a plan, something precise, something that would make her regret every lie, every secret. I didn't want a messy fight. I wanted to show her she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. That's when the idea clicked, an idea I knew would shake her to her core. I decided I'd wait until the right moment, gather everything I needed, then make her see that I was no fool, that I knew all along. I'd turn her world upside down, not through violence or shouting, but through quiet, calculated revenge. The kind she wouldn't forget. It was time she understood that betrayal had consequences, and I was going to be the one handing them out. I looked at her, still trembling, and said, "You should start packing, we're done." Her eyes widened and she looked like she wanted to say something, but I cut her off. "Don't bother, you've already lost me." The words felt like a punch, but I knew I was just getting started. The silence after I dropped those words was deafening. Her face drained of color, eyes wide and searching, like she was trying to find an escape route I wasn't offering. I could see her mind racing, trying to come up with some last-minute justification or plea, but I was already past that. I'd seen enough. I knew what she was capable of. Trust was gone, and I wasn't going to just forget it. Not this time. I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. My palms were clammy, but I kept my voice steady. "You lied, you cheated, you were planning this for a while, weren't you?" I didn't even need her to answer. Her silence was answer enough. I grabbed the suitcase and started packing her things. I wanted her to leave that very moment. I wanted her to feel the cold reality. This isn't just a fight, it's the end. She kept begging, "Please, we can fix this. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was a mistake, I swear." I cut her off with a sharp look. A mistake? You call that a mistake? You lied to me for months, cheated on me during what was supposed to be our celebration. How do you fix that? My voice cracked a little, but I forced it to stay firm. You're not just breaking my trust, you're breaking everything we built. She started crying then, tears streaming down her face, but I felt nothing but cold fury. Her tears didn't change anything. They only made me angrier, not at her crying, but at how she thought she could undo what she'd done. I shoved her belongings into the suitcase, feeling each piece of clothing, each personal item like a weight pressing on my chest. I didn't want to be petty, but it was hard not to feel the urge to hurt her back, to make her feel some of what I felt. As she begged, I turned away. "Get out," I said harshly. "Leave this room, leave my life, don't come back." Her voice broke when she tried to argue, but I didn't listen. I grabbed my keys from the table, made sure I had everything I needed, then watched her stumble out of the room, tears still falling. I didn't stop her. Part of me wanted to, but I knew this was just the beginning and I had to stay in control. Once she was gone, I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling the cold emptiness settle over me. I looked around the room, the sign of a life I thought I knew. Every corner seemed to echo her betrayal. My stomach sank, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I'd finally taken control. No more lies, no more hiding. I had the evidence, I had the power, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. Next, I spent the next few hours making sure I had all the proof I needed: screenshots, receipts, her private messages. I wanted to be ready for whatever came next. I wanted her to see that I'd caught her, that I was aware of her game. I wasn't going to confront her just yet. I needed to be calculated. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand that I knew everything. This wasn't just about ending the relationship. It was about making her feel the consequences of her betrayal. I wanted her to realize she'd lost something real, something she could never get back, and I was going to ensure she paid the price. I had a plan, and I was ready to execute it. The feeling of cold determination settled in my chest. I wasn't just hurt. I was angry as hell, and I was done being the fool. Now, it was time for her to face the music. The plan started forming in my mind quickly once she was out of the room. I wasn't the kind of guy to lose my temper and then blow everything up in a shouting match. I needed precision. I needed her to feel the sting of what she'd done, and I wasn't going to do that by yelling or destroying things. No, I had something more calculated in mind, something that would hit her where it hurt most: her pride, her trust, her reputation. First, I made sure I had all the evidence neatly organized: screenshots, hotel receipts, her secret messages. I saved everything on a secure drive, then deleted the incriminating files from her phone and my own. I didn't want her to be able to cover her tracks once she realized I knew everything. That's when I started to craft a plan. I wanted her to see that I was one step ahead, that I'd been watching her every move, even when she thought I was clueless. I knew she'd try to spin this, to deny or manipulate her way out of it. She was good at that. But I wasn't interested in her explanations anymore. I just wanted her to face the consequences. I decided I'd send the evidence to her closest friends, people who knew us, who might understand the betrayal. I wanted her to be exposed, to feel the shame she'd tried to hide from me. That was part of the revenge, making her feel vulnerable publicly if possible. While she was still in the lobby, I made a few calls. I found her best friend's number, Lisa. I waited until she was in the bathroom and then sent a message with the evidence attached. I kept it simple. "This is what your friend has been hiding from you. She's been lying and cheating." I didn't include her name, but I knew Lisa would figure it out. Within minutes, I saw her phone buzz. I kept my eyes on the door, waiting. When she came back, I watched her face change as she read the message. Her expression went from nervous to shock. She sat down heavily on the bed, looking at her phone. I approached her, calm but cold. "You've got a lot of explaining to do," I said. She looked up at me, eyes filled with tears and panic. "You're doing this because you're hurt," she whispered. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I interrupted. "I understand that you lied, cheated, and played with my trust like it was nothing. That's why I'm exposing you. If you think you're going to lie your way out of this, think again. I let the silence settle for a moment. This is just the beginning. I want everyone to know what you're capable of. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the hotel receipts and saved messages, laying them on the bed in front of her. This is what I found. It's proof. And I'll send this to everyone who needs to see it, your friends, your family, whoever will listen. You're not just hurting me, you're ruining yourself. Her shoulders shook as she tried to speak, but I raised my hand. No, save it. You had your chance to be honest. Now it's too late. I didn't yell, but my voice was firm. I wanted her to understand I wasn't joking or bluffing. This was real, my version of justice. The next step was even more deliberate. I went to the hotel checkout counter, handed over her belongings, and told the clerk she was leaving immediately. I made sure she understood she wasn't welcome to stay or hide. When she finally left, she looked defeated, broken even. I watched her walk away, her head bowed low, and I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. It was the end of something, but also the beginning of something else, rebuilding or perhaps just surviving the fallout. I sat in the hotel lobby for a moment, feeling the cold sweat on my palms. My mind kept replaying everything, the lies, the betrayal, the weight of those messages. I knew I'd done the right thing. I'd taken control, made her see that she couldn't get away with lying and cheating. And I knew that from now on my life would be different. I'd never trust blindly again. The betrayal had opened my eyes, and I was finally ready to face what came next. I left the hotel with a heavy yet strangely lighter heart. I knew I was going to be okay. I'd exposed her, I'd taken back my power, and most importantly, I'd stopped being a fool. The pain still lingered, but so did the clarity. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to see the way up. And this, I told myself, was my way up. The fallout hit me harder than I expected. I thought I'd feel relief, maybe even a little victory once I executed my plan. Instead, I felt hollow, like I'd lost a part of myself in the process. For days, I kept replaying everything, her face, her lies, the moment I confronted her. The silence in my apartment was deafening. No more mornings waking up to her voice, no more shared dinners or plans for the future, just emptiness. But I knew I couldn't dwell there. I had to move forward, clear-headed. I started by blocking her from all my social media, deleting her number, and removing every trace of her from my life. Honestly, that was the easy part. The hard part was dealing with the aftermath, the questions, the doubts, the guilt. Had I done enough? Could I have saved it? Or was I just fooling myself into thinking I could fix what was already broken? The one thing I didn't expect was how many people would end up knowing about her betrayal. I posted the evidence on a few private groups, just enough to make her realize her secrets had a way of leaking out. I didn't want to humiliate her publicly, but I wanted her to see the damage she'd caused. The message was clear. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore, and if she thought she could get away with it, she was badly mistaken. Her family found out fairly quickly. Someone must have tipped them off, or maybe she told them herself in her panic. Either way, I didn't care. I was done defending her. The day I handed over the keys and told her to leave, I knew it was over, final, irreversible. When she showed up crying, begging, trying to justify everything, I simply told her, "It's too late. You made your choice, and now you have to live with it." Her tears didn't move me anymore. They only made me more certain I'd done the right thing. What surprised me most was how I responded internally. I'd been angry, yes, but underneath that, beneath the rage, was a fragile sense of sadness. Not for her, but for what we had lost. I realized I'd loved her once. I'd trusted her with everything. And now that trust was shattered beyond repair. That hurt more than I expected. Still, I couldn't let it consume me. I had to rebuild my life piece by piece. A lot of my friends reached out, some sympathetic, others angry for me. I didn't want to hear the pity or the blame. I knew I'd been naive, but I also knew I'd been genuine. Still, what mattered now was not what I did wrong, but what I did next. I started focusing on myself, working out, catching up on things I'd neglected, reconnecting with people I'd pushed aside during our relationship. It was slow, but each step felt like reclaiming a part of my dignity. One thing I kept telling myself was that I'd learned a hard lesson about trust and deception. I'd been blinded by love and comfort, and that cost me dearly. Next time, I promised myself I'd be more cautious, more aware. I'd listen to the red flags instead of dismissing them. I'd value myself enough not to settle for someone who lied and played with my feelings. That was the real victory, learning to see the signs early so I wouldn't fall into the same trap again. Looking back, I realized that the revenge, though satisfying in the moment, was just one part of a much bigger process. It gave me power, yes, but it also made me confront the truth about myself. I was vulnerable, yes, but now I'm stronger. I know I have to forgive, not necessarily her but myself for trusting too easily. That's the real lesson I want to share. Trust is a fragile thing, but it's also something you can rebuild once you've learned who to trust and who to watch out for. So what's next? Honestly, I don't know, but I do know I won't let this define me. I'll keep moving forward no matter how much it hurts now. Because at the end of the day, I'm the only one responsible for my happiness, and I refuse to let betrayal keep me down forever. That's the one thing I'm holding on to. Hope that someday I'll find someone who's worthy of my trust again. But for now, I focus on healing and on making sure I never let anyone manipulate me like that again. The whole experience left a scar, no doubt about it. It's funny how betrayal can strip away everything you thought was solid, your trust, your sense of security, even your sense of yourself. I used to believe that love meant trusting blindly, that if you loved someone, they'd be honest with you. Turns out, love isn't enough when the other person is willing to lie and cheat behind your back. That lesson was brutal, but it was necessary. I handed over the keys to the apartment and told her to leave. Watching her walk out that door was a strange mixture of relief and sadness. I felt lighter, but also like I'd lost a part of my future. I'd built so many dreams around what we had, and now they were shattered. Still, I knew I had to focus on moving on, no matter how much it hurt. There's no future in dwelling on the past, only in learning from it and making better choices. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I'd go to work, come home, and wonder if she was thinking about me or laughing with him. It was a slow process of healing, relearning what trust really means. I cut ties with her completely, blocked her on everything, and even told a few close friends what had happened. No surprises there. I needed their support, even if I hated admitting how much she'd hurt me. Every night I'd lie awake, replaying the moments I ignored the signs, those late-night texts, the secret receipts, and feeling that sting of betrayal again. But amid all the pain, I found clarity. I realized that I'd been naive. I'd given so much of myself, hoping she'd love me back, but she'd only used that trust to manipulate and cheat. That's when I decided I'd never again let myself be so vulnerable without safeguards. Trust must be earned, and I'll be damn sure I know who I'm trusting in the future. One of the hardest parts was forgiving myself. I kept asking myself, why didn't I see it? How did I miss the signs? But then I realized it wasn't about blame. It was about acceptance. I did the best I could at the time, and I trusted her because I wanted to believe in us. Now I understand that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people hide who they really are, and that's on them, not me. I also learned to forgive her, not because she deserved it, but because holding on to anger was only hurting me. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what she did. It means letting go of the pain so I can move forward. Every day I remind myself that I am worth more than someone's lies. I am better than the pain she caused. Now I focus on myself. I rediscover hobbies I pushed aside, reconnect with friends I ignored, and remind myself that happiness comes from within. It's a slow process, but each day I get a little stronger. I've realized that life isn't about finding perfect love. It's about learning to love yourself enough to walk away when it's not healthy. Looking back, I don't regret what happened. It taught me resilience, patience, and most importantly, self-respect. I won't let anyone manipulate me again. If anything good can come from this nightmare, it's that I'm now more cautious, more aware, and more determined to protect myself. So, here's what I want anyone reading this to take away. Trust is fragile, but it's also something you can rebuild if you're willing to learn from your mistakes. Don't ignore warning signs, and don't let guilt or love blind you. Value yourself enough to walk away from betrayal, because the only way forward is to stand tall, own your story, and keep moving. I've handed over the keys, closed that chapter, and stepped into a new beginning. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And I know now that my happiness is in my hands, no one else.